Well, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about how to solve trigonometric equations and how to find the solution of trigonometric equations. All mean pretty much the same thing, but this is what you have to do when you're in trig. All right, this is usually toward the middle of your lessons and whatnot. So here we go. Without further ado, what we're going to do is we're going to try to solve for x. Okay, and what we have is a trigonometric expression. Now, the key thing, whenever you solve for a variable, you're going to end up using some inverse operations. That's going to be the key thing right here. We're going to be using inverse operations. So inverse operations. All right. Now, in these inverse operations, there we go. All right, operations. Now, inverse operations, like for example, when we solve for x, we can't use normal algebra operations. For example, I'm going to solve for x here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a 1 to both sides. Okay, that's the inverse, or additive inverse. So we have 2 cosine of x equals 1. And now we're going to divide by 2 both sides, or multiply by 1/2. Do that. Multiply by 1/2 both sides. And then what we have is cosine of x equals 1/2. Now, this is where we get into the properties of trigonometric equations, because how do we solve for x? Now, a common mistake that students will do is, well, can I divide by costs? Well, you can't divide by cost because cost is really nothing. All right, what we have is the cosine of x. So what is x? Well, x is an angle. That's a key thing you have to make sure you understand. When you're solving for trigonometric function, is that understand what are you solving for? And here we're trying to figure out what is the angle of cosine that will give us a ratio, because this is our ratio, all right, of 1/2, okay, of 1/2. So to do that, we can kind of think about this. Okay, well, cosine, what is cosine going to give us this value of 1/2? What I could do, what I usually do is I kind of think about, okay, cosine's positive here. All right, cosine going to have a 1/2. Well, this seems to be a very simple triangle. All right, one of our basic triangles of either a 45, 45, 90 or a 30, 60, 90. So when I think about cosine, cosine is the, I would say cosine x. Cosine x, let me figure out where x is positive. Well, cosine is positive in this quadrant. All right, and it's also positive in this quadrant here. So the first, all right, and also the fourth quadrant, that is where cosine is positive. So we're looking at this angle here, all right, at least if we go from 0 to 360 degrees, all right, and we're looking at that angle right there, all right, I'll call that 1 beta, all right, that we're looking for, all right, for x. So we're looking for two different solutions, at least from, all right, 0 to 360. Okay, so with that, my friends, all right, to solve this, well, what angle will this be? Well, I can create a little triangle here and go like this. I got 1 and 2, because cosine is a ka. Oops, that one doesn't go there. All right, so take erase that. And I'm going to erase my other stuff. All right, so instead of that right there, we're going to have our cosine. It's going to be 1 here. Sorry about that. Give this angle theta, which is x. All right, so cosine here, so we know this is going to be radical 3. Okay, so to solve this now, what we're going to do is we're going to take now to solve, we're going to take the inverse cosine. All right, inverse cosine. So we're going to do the inverse cosine of both sides, because that's how, with the inverse operation, they get rid of cosine is, so we can get x, because the function composed of an inverse equals the value inside. So we're going to take the inverse cosine of both sides. And the inverse cosine, what angle do I get now? Well, we know that this angle is going to be, well, what's opposite of radical 3? Well, it's going to be 60 degrees, or what we also know as pi over 3, if you have it in radians. Okay, so 60 degrees are pi over 3. Now, we also know, and that's what a little alpha is, or sorry, a little theta. But if you go all the way around in the fourth quadrant, x can also be, all right, x can also be, all right, all these values going right here, which is actually 300 degrees, because we know this is also going to be a 60-degree angle. We can draw another triangle. This is 1, 2, and radical 3. All right, negative radical 3. All right, so what do we have here is going to be, well, another 60 degrees. So what is that? Well, that's 300 degrees, because it's in the fourth quadrant. Or what we know it's going to have to be is 5 pi over 3. 5 pi over 3, and that is in radians. Okay, that's in radians. Now, the thing is that with trig, is that these values, we have coterminal angles. Okay, so if we go right here, we find this one alpha. Well, what we can do is we keep on going around the circle, and we can come back to that spot and get our coterminal angle. So what do we do? Well, essentially what we're doing is we're adding 360 degrees here. So I'm going to add this to the radians. So I'm going to add 2 pi, because that's 360 degrees. And we're going to add a multiple of pi. We're going to add an n here. Okay, n is going to be any integer. All right, an integer. All right, and we have that. And once again, same way here. To figure out this one, I can go all the way around and all the way around again. And so I'm going to add another 2 pi. Oops, 2 pi n right there. And that would be all the possible solutions of every single value. Now, the integer can be positive or negative, so that means we can go, all right, backwards or forwards, all right, clockwise or counterclockwise to figure out our solutions. All right, so this is a rather easy one to get started of how to solve a trigonometric equation, all right, solving for x. Once again, when we're solving for x, all right, make sure we use inverse operations, all right, to solve this. Use our first inverse operation, which is our additive inverse, and use our multiplicative inverse. And now to solve this, we have to use our cosine to solve for x. And when we're doing that, we're looking for the angle. And I drew a little triangle to help us figure out what angles that would be for this basic ratio. All right. Well, I'm going to do some more problems like this in future videos. So stay tuned, and well, good luck and God bless in the rest of them, and maybe check out my other videos.